Good evening, everybody. Keith here. Hoping everybody's having a good day, enjoying life, living life, loving life. Wanted to get on and talk to everybody about CAPTA tonight. That's the Child Abuse Prevention and Treatment Act. And this is what they use in the court cases when CPS comes in and removes children from the home. And when we look at this, and I want to remind everybody, when they cite this stuff in different areas of the law, we have to be conscious that they're written different ways. So if we look up CAPTA in the U.S. Code, it's going to be under Title 42, just like Social Security Act. CAPTA is part of that act, and in that, it has its own setup as pertaining to programs and agencies and stuff. And that's what we're going to talk about here real quick. The format I'm looking at currently for CAPTA is the PDF that you can find online. And it is the Child Abuse Prevention and Treatment Act. And then it says also as part of the title, including the substance abuse disorder prevention that promotes opioid recovery and treatment for patients and Communities Act. Then it says, as amended by PL, which stands for Public Law 115-271. Then on the bottom of this PDF here, it's got their little insignia. It's got a bird with wings in blue ink on a white background, and then it's got Department of Health and Human Services, USA. And then right beside it, it's got 4 different agencies. It's got U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Administration for Children and Families, Administration on Children, Youth, and Families, and then Children's Bureau. Then the next page here, and then we'll be done with this here, the very first word it starts out with is draft. It says in big letters, all capital letters, says draft. And then there's a hyphen, and then it says the Child Abuse Prevention and Treatment Act, CAPTA, and then blah blah blah. Before we go any further, I want to take everybody to UCC 3-104, because in UCC 3-104 it tells us negotiable instruments, and it's going to give us definition of what a draft is. And this is something I spoke on in a video here just a few days back. And it says, an instrument. Remember what an instrument is? An instrument means a negotiable instrument. And it says here, an instrument is a note if it is a promise, and is a draft if it is an order. Okay? If it's a draft if it's an order. And then when we look at 3-105, it says issue of instrument. Issue means the first delivery of an instrument by the maker or drawer. So when we go back to this CAPTA PDF that I'm looking at, this one word draft says that it's a order, and it was issued. In this case, this is a federal issue. It was issued by the federal government as an order to the states. Okay? They have to abide by this CAPTA stuff to carry on business. And when we think about this one here says, disclaimer, please consult the U.S. Code for official or legal citations. This document was prepared by Children's Bureau, staff and may not be cited as an authoritative source. Okay, so we're not even going to bother with this anymore. We're going to go to the United States Code. Well, where do we go in the United States Code? It says right here in this that it's going to be located at 42 of the United States Code, sections 5101 through 5119. So when we go to Title 42 of the United States Code and we look at the very first section, 5101, it says Office on Child Abuse and Neglect. And this is a very short portion. It says establishment. It's got two sections, A and B. And it says establishment under A. The Secretary of Health and Human Services may establish an office to be known as the Office on Child Abuse and Neglect. Okay, now when we look at this, again, when you're looking at the United States Code, it's got the blue line highlighted entries in it. And it's going to, when they're blue line highlighted like that, it's a link to a different page that will give you a definition. And when we click on Secretary, it says, of course, in this title, 1, the term Secretary means the Secretary of Health and Human Services. Well, it's Secretary of Health and Human Services because Title 42 has to do with health and human services. It's the medical insurance. Then when we click on Services, it says Services. The term Services means services that are provided to clients. Clients is a joinder of commercial activity, contractual terms. If I come to you with an agreement and we make an even exchange and we're just doing it as brother and sister or brother and brother, that's just an agreement. But when we're providing services, then we have a contract, a commercial contract of nature for providing a service to a client, specifically denoting a commercial transaction, which is a taxing event. Comprehend this, people. Then it says, may establish an office. Here it says office, and it's blue line highlighted, but it's in lowercase. So when we click on it, the definition is uppercase. And then it says the term office, uppercase, well, upper and lowercase. Upper and lowercase means the office, which is all lowercase, established in section 3058GA 1A of this title. So office, whether they use upper and lowercase or all lowercase, is going to mean the same. And we're going to find that in this section. So when we go to look at this section, where did it go? When we go to look at this section, it's under Title 42 of the United States Code, 3058, Section G. And it's State Long-Term Care Ombudsman Program. Okay? Now let's look at this. Let's think about this, people. We're talking about child abuse prevention. And all of a sudden we're talking about long-term care. Why are we talking about long-term care? We're going to talk about that. But first we're going to see child. The definition of child used in this particular act, the definition, this subsection A, child, the term child means a person. The term child means a person. So in the sense of a person, and they're using it as under the age of 18. B, Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. The term Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program means a Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program established under the Food and Nutrition Act of 2008. You can look that up. We're not going to worry about that, but right now we're concerned with the word child, meaning person. So the Child Abuse Prevention and Treatment Act retains to persons and not your heirs, not your offspring, not your little ones. It only pertains to persons. And we're talking about clients dealing with commerce. Everything is commerce. They are acting in commerce. The Clearfield Doctrine is active at all times. You go after them in their individual capacity on the private side through arbitration because this is a commercial act. You accept their contract. When the CPS worker wants to come to the door and hand you paperwork, be prepared to accept their contract on condition of acceptance of arbitration agreements. It is a commercial contract. They're asking for financial assistance. They're seeking economic substance in order to provide long-term care for a child that's being abused. And they're professing long-term care because they don't know what the abuse is yet. They're working on a concern. And it's up to you to discern their concern. Think about this stuff, people. And when you look at this, I want everybody to type this into their search engine, 42 USC 5101. And it's going to come up with Office on Child Abuse and Neglect. And when you look at it, it's going to show you need the Cornell site. And when you look at it, it's going to have the blue line highlighted. And child is highlighted. However, abuse is not. And then it says, and neglect. Now all of a sudden we have neglect as blue line highlighted. And this is what I'm going to talk to you about with the long-term care in regards to child and being person and all that. Neglect. When we look up the definition of neglect, it says the term neglect means the failure of a caregiver as defined in paragraph 18b, and we're not going to worry about that right now because this later on is what we need to look at. It says, or fiduciary to provide the goods or services that are necessary to maintain the health or safety of an older individual. What's the difference between a child and an older individual all of a sudden? Why is an older individual in the child abuse prevention or child abuse protection and child abuse protection and treatment act? Why are they talking about older individuals? Well, we're talking about people that are incapable. Persons that are incapable of any age, not just under 18. A child is somebody that's under the age of 18, a person that's under the age of 18, and an older individual is still a person over the age of 18. And therefore, if for some reason the state takes custody of a child in need of assistance because he's got health conditions that the mom and dad can't take care of, they now have a long-term care provider, and it's already set up, and that's why they do it. But again, it's all for persons. It's all for persons, all financial. So let's get back to it. So now we know that it doesn't have to do with anything to do with child abuse. It has to do with neglect, which is the long-term care provided for anybody that is incapable of providing goods and services for themselves, and they depend on somebody else to do that for them. So the next part I want to talk about when we talk about this state, if we go to Title 42 of the United States Code 3025, it says designation of state agencies. Okay? Now, the CPS is considered a state agency. Okay? All these guys, they're state agencies. And it says designation of state agencies. Duties of designated state agencies in order for a state to be eligible to participate in programs of grants to states for allotments under this subchapter. Let's look at grants. The term grants includes a contract, cooperative agreement, or other mechanism for providing financial assistance. Okay? Now, what I want you people to comprehend is every penny that the Social Security Administration gets is called a contribution. It's given to you, or given by you to the state, and then the state makes a payment into a fund. In order for the government, the federal government, to provide a grant to the states, they are dependent upon that fund to have a payment made into it in order to match it. That's what they're granting. They're granting matching funds dependent upon a payment already made by the state. The state's getting the payment from you and calling you the client. Of course, you go to these medical clinics and you pay them, don't you? You're paying them for that service because you don't know how to administrate your own financial affairs and do the correct set-off through filing that, signing that document properly with a qualified signature denoting arbitration for this contract to do settlement in proper operation of law of offset. When you sign that document, you're going through a state agency that's applying credits. They're getting credits and then charging you for the Federal Reserve notes, so they don't have to pay those credits. When you make a demand for exchange in lawful coin, or submit for the securities that are being exchanged on any bonds, there's some dividends and income. It's, like I said, it's a commercial event. It's a taxing event. All commerce is a taxing event. The IRS is your friend if you use them right. Just got to know your position. Are you the decedent or the non-decedent? So anyway, we're going back to CAPTA. It says in the next section, (5102) Advisory Board on Child Abuse and Neglect. And we're just about done here, folks, because this is going to put an end to it for you. This one right here. I mean, the first section, like I told you, I already told you, it's real short and sweet. There's 2 sections. You can look it up and read it. The first paragraph I read you, and I'll read it again. A, establishment. The Secretary of Health and Human Services may establish an office to be known as the Office on Child Abuse and Neglect. I can read the next section. It's about 4 times as long as that. So it's, like I said, the first section is a real short section. You go to the next section, we're talking about Advisory Board on Child Abuse and Neglect. Now, this has got to be within the office already, because office was already established within the first section. So within that office, we have an advisory board on child abuse and neglect. And it says appointment. The secretary, let's look up secretary again. In this title, 1, the term secretary means the Secretary of Health and Human Services. So, yeah, we're talking still about the same secretary. And it says the secretary may appoint an advisory board. Get this, people. Blue line highlighted, board. In general, There shall be in the corporation a board of directors. In general, there shall be in the corporation a board of directors. Department of Human and Health Services, board of directors. That's part of a corporation. Plain and simple. So even when they use CAPTA as a reason to come get your children, they're saying they're doing it as a corporate action. Think, people. Think. Look up Department of Health and Human Services on Dun and Bradstreet. They're going to have a corporate DUNS number. And if they're not on Dun and Bradstreet, they're going to be on Manta. U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. And again, remember, if they're a corporation, please consult the U.S. Code for official or legal citations. This document was prepared by Children's Bureau staff and may not be cited as an authoritative source. So if they're just a corporation, can they be cited as an authoritative course? Or authoritative source? Only if you're using that act. You can use it as the authoritative source, pointing out that they're an authoritative source to the corporation, which is themselves, and they cannot impose that corporate authority upon yourself. Again, Title 11 of the Social Security Act. No federal agency, employee, participant, actor, performer, anybody can enforce any of this upon the objection of either parent. Period. And this coincides with it. Tells you it's a corporate setup. Every last bit of it. And it's seeking economic substance first in order to provide the service programs and goods to those that are supposedly benefiting. Yet the ones that are benefiting are the ones that are paying into the system. Think, people. Anyway, I wanted to point this stuff out to you. It's very basic, and as I showed, we didn't get very far into that CAPTA Act to kind of just destroy it. You know, so remember, and again, that's why I went over Uniform Commercial Code. Everything's commerce, and when we think about that, everything is negotiable. Again, right back to what I did my video on yesterday in regards to arbitration. Arbitration is negotiation. Arbitration is debating. Arbitration is discussing with your brothers and sister. Whoever's coming forward with that plaint. It is not a complaint, it is a plaint. Look this stuff up. Somebody that makes a plaint is somebody that's acting on behalf of a plaint already initiated by a legislated statute. That's what your legislative statutes are. They're plaints. And then when an officer writes that up and uses it on his little ticket, he's writing a complaint. That's why the state is the plaintiff. And the officer is the complainant. I urge you people to comprehend the words. They're all here, and it tells us that if somebody's trying to pass a negotiable instrument, then it includes arbitration automatically. Excuse me, can we discuss this? That when that CPS officer worker comes up to the door with a couple officers, can we discuss this? Sure. It's an immediate agreement to arbitration. You just didn't use the word arbitration. Pure and simple. It's time to step up and learn how to present this in each and every intercourse, each and every interaction, so that when they offend us at the door, when they try to offend us at the door, we can stand up and have it spoken already. We already know this stuff. And you know, people, when you go to these court proceedings, if you've got a laptop, take it. Take it. You have a right to your legal documents. You also have right to electronic access to your legal documents. What are your legal documents? Documents on the public record. You can't often take a leave of court to go to the back of the courthouse into their legal library, which is accessible to the entire public. Comprehend this. You have access, free access to a public law library at your local courthouses. And instead of taking a leave of court so you can go back there and do that, you excuse me just a second. They have to allow you your legal documents, and this is a legal instrument. Different kind of instrument, isn't it? It's not quite so negotiable. It's set in stone. They have to allow you this. Equal access. Everything. It's a matter of expediency, Your Honor. Do you not use the same reference in trying to make sure that these court matters are taken care of expediently? Because if you really want me to ask for a leave of court every time I have a question, this could take a number of years, buddy. And we're only talking about a $150 traffic ticket. Which, by the way, folks, like I keep repeating, traffic, transportation, and trade are all synonymous with commerce. So if you get a traffic citation, it's automatically commerce, no matter what they want to call it. And any criminal tort is actually a civil wrong. So therefore, it still sits in the civil, in the commercial realm. That's that thing about 27 CFR, Code of Federal Regulations, Section 7211. All crimes are commercial. Period. So I urge people to really think about this stuff and realize how much it relates to yourself and every interaction that you have, not just when they come knocking on your door trying to take your kids away, not when they're just trying to present documents saying that your paternity paperwork shows that you're the father and therefore you owe child support, or not just through divorce proceedings on custody issues, but learn who you really are, and you're the unlimited power of contract by knowing how to contract. And knowing how to contract means you have to know how to communicate with each other. You have to know how to talk with each other. You have to know how to discuss things. You have to know how to arbitrate. You have to know how to reconcile with each other. You have to know how to mediate, arbitrate, contract, come to terms and conditions of agreement. Debate. You have to learn how to be Socratic. Leave out the emotions and think about it in numbers. Think about it in dollars and cents, and know that it's your dollars and cents instead of the state's. Because you're the overriding authority. You're the paramount authority. Comprehend something, people. I'm going to explain Romans 13 in less than a minute. Romans 13, where it talks about following your government, blah, blah, blah. Comprehend. Chapter 17 of Genesis, verse 1 talks about, I am Almighty God. So long as you follow my way, you shall be blameless. You can follow that, or you can be subject to the government and have to follow their word. If you're subject to the government, it's because you're not subject to the word yet. You don't know the word yet in order to be able to follow it in your routine life. And therefore, you have to subject yourself to a government that has to tell you what's right and what's wrong, and you got to behave this way. So that's Romans 13. You either subject yourself to the master of the government, saying that you don't comprehend the word of God, and therefore you have to take it the best they can give it to you, and hope that they are acting in good faith and fair dealings. And then people like myself that don't need that, we can step aside and say, wait a minute, he's one of my brothers, and I'm above this government, and as part of my stewardship, part of my inherent right with equal consideration on the same playing field, same level, my brother here deserves those same rights, and I'll not let you trample him. That's not my position. And that's the importance of the knowledge. To be able to step up for those that are in the system that can't do it themselves. Those of us with the knowledge are supposed to not only share it, but enhance it and be able to use it ourselves and use it for ourselves and for our brothers and sisters. And therein is where true wisdom lies, the experience of its use. Now, I have a lot of experience and wisdom in using this stuff for myself, and I render the day that I get to be able to step forward and help my brothers and sisters using it as well. I've been able to do it a little bit here and there successfully, right on edge, and I've recently had to step back, and I'm stepping back even farther. Like I said, I'm going through my friends list, and it's a matter of being able to stand up to that. If I truly want to help people, then I've got to do it the right way. And if I'm not doing it the right way, and there's a possibility I could injure people or even come into harm myself, I don't want that. I don't want to be detrimental about it, so I have to learn it. And so I think it's very important that when you're doing your research and stuff in this, comprehend the Word of God. You don't have to follow it and understand it, believe it, and what I got into a short discussion, be, quote, a Bible thumper or anything like that. Just be knowledgeable of it. Be knowledgeable of the different concepts of the different religions and how they're all based in the similar spirituality. And that's all you need. But all these biblical teachings will teach you how to walk in this commercial world. It'll teach you how to walk on water. You walk on water by not letting it rain on your parade. By when they come to your door, you already have the knowledge. Well, can we talk about this? And yeah, okay, great. Let's do it out here. Let me call my minister. Let me get a third party. Let me get some witnesses involved. I'm sure you don't mind, do you? I mean, they're going to be able to stand up for me. Oh, no, not at all. You got to start using your heads and think about this, people. When we want to connect with people, and this is one of the problems that came about because of the video I did the other night, and I had somebody on the video with me. We need to come better in a more physical form, side by side, instead of through a temporary medium, electronic media. We need to get more intimate and be able to connect, and that's the reason we need to strengthen this network of people with knowledge and pass it on, so that net becomes tighter and tighter interwoven, so it catches more. It's able to safeguard more. And that's what we really need to get to. So comprehend, people, all of these rules and regulations, every last one of them strictly commercial. And I will be looking into CAPTA some more, find some more interesting points. But tonight I wanted to point out to you, and it's right in the beginning. Right in the beginning, it speaks on nothing but economic substance. And we have to be wary of that. We have to become knowledgeable of what that means. And how to either reject it or conditionally accept it, whatever. There are different processes. So I urge everybody again to think about this stuff. And again, I'm going to iterate, don't believe your government, don't believe me, do your research. I can't do it for you. It's not, my truth is not your truth is not my truth. You have to read this stuff. You have to be able to follow these links and interpret it for yourself. Like I've been expressing here lately as well. To me, it's not a matter of age of majority. To me, it's a matter of age of discretion. You've got to get to that age of discretion. I'm 53 years old, And I'm still trying to discern a lot of this because nobody else is going to discern it for me. All they're going to do, again like CPS, is present concerns. Look at all your CPS paperwork. Well, we have concerns about this. That's one of the most commonly used words in their messed up paperwork. It's pathetic. So think about this stuff, people. And I don't think I've done it this video. I don't think I've cussed or swore. Give myself a pat on the back in the meantime. If it weren't for you guys, I wouldn't be doing this. So God bless you. Love you. Have a great night.